are you? Welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network, the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. John in Wilson, New York. Great to have you on the program, sir. Hello.
Hey, Rush. Hey, I'm the guy that called last spring that said we need a guy exactly like Gingrich, because at this
You're the guy? You're the guy who called last spring?
Yes. And here we are in the middle of a war, and we are surrendering. And I am sick of it. This whole thing with Reed and the tax reforms, I would put that little man down so fast he wouldn't even come out of his hole. Why are we playing around with this guy?
I'll tell you why.
Somebody's got to call Lori Ingraham and Ann Coulter, who are so big on Romney. Romney was a guy. We all knew what was going to happen. Now we have McCain, too. And somebody better get a hold of him right now. Go ahead, Rush.
I'll tell you. Thank you, sir. I'll.
I'm sorry to be.
That's all right. I need to be reminded what it's like to be a caller now and then, and you've helped me. I'll tell you why. I'll take you back to Bush 43. Their belief, you remember, they never responded to anything either. And you're talking about the essence of the GOP establishment. And their theory was that if they responded to anything, it gave it life and kept the story alive in the media day after day after day. Whereas if they ignored it, it'd go away. And so, something else would pop up, but it would eventually go away if they didn't give it life. There was also the belief that they want to sully the office of the president by getting down the gutter all the time responding to this stuff. Now, Karl Rove admitted in a book after he and Bush left office that they might have made a little bit of mistake in not responding to some of this stuff. But I think that the prevailing theory in the Republican establishment today is don't mention it, don't respond to it. It just elevates it, gives it longer life. It will eventually go away, and people will forget about it. I think.
Well, it didn't work for Bush 43, did it?
No,
it's not that long ago.
They were able to. I'll tell you how successful it was. That there are still 40% of the people in this country who think he's responsible for this economy. So you'd have to say that it worked.
And that's another thing, Rush. I wish they'd have Bush 43 at the Republican convention and have him take the gloves off, because
he's not going to. I was going to ask you about this, John, since you're all fired up here about burying Harry Reid. Let me ask you to put yourself in George Bush's shoes. You're president for 8 years. After 9/11, you saw to it there was not another attack on this country. Iraq and Afghanistan happened. And 9/11, you rebuilt the economy, and when you left office, the unemployment rate was just about 5%, and all kinds of people were working. And now your reputation is destroyed, your presidency's lied about. Do you think you might have reacted to any of this at some point by now?
I would have. Well, I don't know. I can't say that. I understand about when a president leaves office, and I understand how Clinton's broken that. So I probably would not have responded, but the Republican convention would be a great place to do that. I mean, and brag about the average 5% unemployment we had for 8 years. And I don't know why they don't do that, the Republicans. Are they afraid of George Bush? You know what I mean?
Is who afraid of George Bush?
Is the Republican establishment afraid to bring a guy like George Bush out at the convention? Because of the way
I hadn't thought about it, but now you mention it,
it's kind of odd.
There might be some in there who think his negatives are still too high to bring him out. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a good question. I hadn't really thought of that. I've put myself in Bush's shoes, and I know about the decorum and the tradition, the role of ex-presidents. And Bush has old-fashioned ideas about the presidency, and he's got profound respect for it. So he's not going to do anything in his mind would sully the office. He was merely a placeholder, in his view. The office of the presidency is sacrosanct, and he's not going to do anything to denigrate it. Clinton can do what he does, and Obama, when he leaves, will do what he does. But Bush is going to, even if it means country goes down tubes. This is where in putting myself in his shoes, if I could sit around and let that happen, if I wouldn't want to try to stop it. But I see, this is why I always say I'm not a politician. And folks, those people play this game, whatever you call it, by a totally different set of rules than you and I go about living our lives. It's like you said, Harry Reid wouldn't be able to walk after 2 days of this if he'd done about you. But in those guys, oh, that's just Harry. He ought to, that's just wrong. Harry ought to stop that. And that's as far as it goes, as far as the Republican response to it's concerned. John, I appreciate the call. Here is Henry in Portland, Maine. You're next, sir. Great to have you.
Hey, Rush, thank you. They accuse Romney of killing this poor woman. But, the only presidential candidate this year that's actually killed an American citizen is Barack Obama. He's got his hit list. He killed somebody who was a bad person, but he killed him without due process. How can we trust that if he's elected again, that he won't actually bring that back to the United States, killing American citizens?
It's more than one person. How many people died with Fast and Furious?
Oh, that's true, too.
With Obama guns.
Absolutely.
So, about death squads and Romney. How many drug cartels have American-made guns that they're killing people with?
Absolutely true. So, he is the candidate that's actually killed American citizens. And we have proof. We don't need to speculate. We absolutely know. And he personally has to approve anyone on that hit list. So we know that he will approve killing more people, possibly more American citizens. Do we trust that he won't bring that back?
You're talking about Orlaki, right? The terrorist and the drone attack. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And Obama has the right to, if he decides anybody's misbehaving, he can wipe them out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Orlaki, who had the Fort Hood shooter in communication with him also. So who's to say that American citizens, maybe these right-wing might be killed too in this country?
Obama didn't even read that poor sheikh his Miranda rights.
He did not. And then as an American citizen, I think there's due process, no matter how bad you are, and which is proven with these shooters and the person yesterday who pleaded guilty.
Here's the point. The point is the President of the United States is accusing you of killing a woman. You have to realize what this is all about. Here's what's always been frustrating to me. With Obama, we have never had this great an opportunity, this great a contrast between who we are and who our opponents are. This guy, Obama, is a sitting duck. He ought to be a sitting duck. There is no reason to compromise with any of this. All this notion of walking across the aisle and making friends, that's not even relevant with this Democrat Party. We've never, ever had a greater opportunity to teach the American people who the Democrats of today are, who the liberals of today are, what they're doing, the damage that they are wreaking on this country. We have never, ever had a greater opportunity. And I'm sorry, Republican Party, it's not enough to do it every day on talk radio. You're going to have to do it as a part of your campaigning to win elections. Because you're going to have a mandate when you win elections. You're going to have to do some teaching. You're going to have to get into some ideology here. And it's the opportunity to contrast who we are with what we're up against. We've got a Democrat Party and a president literally destroying this economy and the middle class. And we have the opposing parties still reluctant to frame it properly. They still want to couch it in the same old traditional political terms and universe. Well, they're the Democrats and we're the Republicans, and sometimes they win and sometimes we win, and Democrats, and you listen to all the analysts on TV. and you listen to all the strategists, and you listen to all the pollsters, and you listen to all the political scientists, and they too, every damn one of them, it's just another election. It's electoral college here, this state here, this swing state there, this poll over here. It's about so much more than that. Every election, it is said, this is the most crucial election of our life. This one really is. This one really is. The problem with the Republican base voter is they know they get it, but they're not sure that their party still gets it. And they don't understand how anybody can't get it. How anybody can't understand what we're up against. We're in the middle of what's happening. If you're in the middle of a forest fire, and that forest is everything to you, and you know who set it, you know who set the blaze, you know who put it on fire, you, A, want to save the forest, as much of it as you can, and you also want everybody to know who did it. Because forest fires don't happen every day. They're not common. This election season is not common. This campaign is not common. It's not like every other one before. And that's because of the last 3 years, 3.5 years, and what's happened in this country. You got to go back to FDR and Woodrow Wilson for things like this. And those two guys were pikers compared to what's happening here. I got to take a break real quick. We'll be back and continue after this. Don't go away.